that he was able to do what he has promised. He was able to also to perform it. So my brothers and sisters, nothing is impossible for God. Nothing is. Mark 11:24 says, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it shall be yours. God is saying, whatever you have already asked, believe it. Come to him believing. See, because when you come doubting, the Bible says that without faith, it's impossible to please him. So if you want something from God, you must believe that it is, that he is a reward of them that diligently seek him. And I know people get so tired of hearing, but God, but God. Well, let me tell you this, but God, but God. He's the way, the truth, and the life. For a promise, he has promises for the afflicted. For brighter days, Psalms 30:5 says, for his anger endureth but a moment. In his favor is life. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. In other words, trouble don't last always. Because our God promises deliverance. Psalms 34:19 says, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivered them out of them all. So with God, nothing is impossible. We just have to seek him because he is the way, the truth, and the life. And you know what? If you read his word, if you read his word in Hebrew 4:16, it says, let us then approach the throne room of grace with confidence so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in the time of need. Is this your time of need, my brothers and sisters? Well, approach the throne room with confidence, knowing that he hears your prayers. And you won't be let down because there is a way out of your mess, and it's JESUS.
Where can you buy a brand new Nissan with a lifetime warranty? Kingston Pike. Hey folks, Gerald Anderson with Ted Russell Nissan. You heard it right. Every new Ted Russell Nissan comes with a lifetime warranty, and that's a long, long time. Ted Russell Nissan on Kingston Pike.
Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Rome, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 865-457-1380 or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Good morning, everybody. Here we are. It's Thursday. David West, Stars and Stories of the Kaz Walker Show. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you? Hey, how's
We're here.
How's Howard's wife?
As Mr. Walker said, we're here and we hope you're there.
That's the way it is.
You know, I had to be pretty good, didn't it? You be here and you be there.
That works. That gets it done.
Yeah, we got Dustin on the job this morning.
Hello, Dustin.
Hey, Ron, how are you, buddy?
Just hanging in here.
I wouldn't have been on the job, didn't been for him. I got up started at 6 o'clock and done the day's work. And then I sat down and watched
You already
TV,
got the day done.
I just dozed off. I don't know why I did. And somebody's ringing the doorbell, and I grabbed the phone. It's one of them times you ever wake up and I don't know whether it's day or night.
Yeah.
When I woke up and I was ready to go, except putting my trousers on and my shoes. And I thought, well, what is this, a phone? I kept answering the phone. There wasn't nobody on it. Ding, ding, ding. And see, my doorbell still plays Christmas music. I got thinking, where's the Christmas song? I run to
Oh, my gosh.
What was it? It played
like Jingle Bells or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It played a good song.
Well, that's good to know. Next time I go to David's house and ring his doorbell.
There you go.
Ring your
Playing
doorbell.
Jingle bells.
I just leave it on. I don't care all year long.
Christmas in July.
No worries with that.
That reminds you, Ron, like when you're a kid, you know, you fall asleep when you come in from school and you wake up and you done thought you missed school
Yeah.
the next day.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh.
One year I left a bunch of Christmas stuff up.
Uh-huh.
People was talking about it. I said, well, they keep it up in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge all year. They sell it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
I said, this stuff's for sale. Oh, man. But anyhow, I got going, and we got a lot of things happening over the side of the hill. I got a lot of drums in it. Oh, boy, they got in a load of Les Pauls. And we got a big show, you know, coming up Monday.
That's what I was just checking. I was looking to see. So, yeah, coming up Monday. Wild Wings, Monday
and
the
then I think we
14th.
got another one. May, we're playing in, where is it up there? Where Rick's at? Sneedville.
Sneedville.
Sneedville, that's 9th or 7th, whatever Friday's on.
Okay.
And then we got another. I won't have her over here. It's got the Oxy. She's a singer also. But Angela's going to come over in the next couple of weeks, be with us and tell about a lot of antique businesses and things that should be interesting about what things she got to talk about.
Okay.
In real estate, she knows a lot about a lot of things. But she'll probably be a couple more weeks. I'm going to have her over. We also got a guest this morning, Brother Jason's here.
Brother Jason. Jason Bourne, the one and only, in the flesh. In the flesh. No.
Tell us about your week or your day or what.
Yeah, week's kind of been smooth. It's been smooth so far. Had a great day off Tuesday. Took the girlfriend out to dinner, Applebee's over off of Merchants Drive, and went over there, and also went to KSA. And also, I'd like to talk a little bit about KSA as well. I'm a part of Knoxville Songwriters Association. We have a meeting every Tuesday night that starts at 6, and we have a jam session that starts at 5, so you can come in and present your song. Just write your name down. The first 2 visits are free, and then it's $30 a year for a membership, so pretty affordable. Yeah, Fountain City.
It's a really good. It's really that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some, you know, Jordan Foster was out there. There's some good writers. Nashville writers there.
Yeah, just right over there at the Fountain City Library. So if you're within 15, 20, 30 minutes of Fountain City, just come over there to the library.
You can play jam.
Yeah, for about an hour, 5 to 6. Yeah, 5 to 6.
Do your songs, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I went over, the first time I went, they called me up and said, we want you to come over here.
Yeah.
I said, well, if I get time, no. We want you to promise to come over here. I said, well, I went over and they said, now, we've got David Westwood. He's done so much for music. We want him to be a lifetime member. They voted me in.
Oh, yeah.
Well, when they did, they said David wrote some songs. I didn't know what all about. I didn't take nothing. And they had all them on CDs, a bunch of them, and they played them.
Yeah.
But then they wanted a bunch of stories, you know, Cass Walker stories.
Yeah, he laid it on us that night. He told a bunch of old stories.
Was you there?
Yeah, I had the whole.
I didn't know you were there.
Yeah, I had the whole room laughing. Yeah, I was there. I remember. Yeah, him and Karen showed up, gave him a lifetime membership, and the president over there is Randy Ott.
Yeah.
And Randy's known David through the years as well. He used to play over there at Ciderville, and he's like my second dad. I've known him for years. Huh?
He does Wild Wings with us.
Yeah, he does Wild Wings with us as well. Yep.
What's that? It's a fun thing. Everybody ought to go over and see it.
Oh, yeah, everybody.
The main thing is listen to all them new songs they wrote.
Yeah.
And see you can understand them because they hand it out to you in paper.
Yep.
And you know what they're saying. Even if they sing where they don't get the words real clear.
Yeah. See, if they mess it up, you know what they meant to say because you'll have the words right in front of you. That's nice. So,
hey, it's like me. I was playing for
foolproof.
I was playing for a funeral. Me and Luke was one night. Luke, I just hand him the paper, and he's supposed to be directing us. And he said, it's time to sing a little. He said, right, while the funeral's going on, somebody else, he said, we need to do this song right after this. I said, okay, so I introduced it and played it, and it wasn't even the right time. He went down about 4 later, and everybody looked at me, and you know, and the preacher got up and said, you know, he's going to introduce the next, and he said, well, we got an extra in that there. I said, that's a little bonus for you. Started nine, said, a little extra thing. Luke put in for it. David and Luke put in for it. I didn't know what he's talking about. And Sonia Butcher was there. Jake said, Sonia said, well, they're way ahead of herself.
Sounds like the preacher had your back that night.
Yeah, I like the preachers when, I love preachers, you know. I've been with them all my life.
Oh, come on. Be real, David. No,
my mama started taking me to church before I was born, so I've been going a long time. But anyhow, you get, and you've probably seen it a lot in your line of work, you get up there and start singing real good, and the spirit starts feeling, you know, everybody gets happy.
Oh, yeah.
And just as quick as you get one of them songs that they're really getting into it, preacher will jump up a lot of times. Just a minute here, I won't say a word while these boys are getting another song ready. Well, you got your whole program. While they're getting another song ready, I want to talk to you just a minute.
He's gonna have 45 minutes after we're done.
Exactly. But he gets up there right then and knows it.
Like if you wanted an hour, all you had to do was ask.
I'm going to say a word here. I just feel like asking, does anybody in here need to say anything while these boys are getting another song ready? And this is a true story. Dennis Money was doing the show, and you know Dennis. He's honestly all right. He said when that preacher done that, you know, he was aggravated because they had a good show lined up. And he said, when that preacher jumped up there and done that, anybody want to say anything right quick before they get another song going? She got up and said, preacher, said, you know, said, I've been sick, said, I ain't felt worth the SH all day. I want you all to pray for me. He said that knocked the sting out of them. He said, everybody pray for Sister Jones here. Said, I'm going to turn it back over to the boy.
I got him down.
He said she put him back. She said, she's serious, you know.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, it's funny things happening in church.
Yeah, I love
I
it.
saw a lot of it.
Yeah,
I guess I got to see more than anybody in church on things like that.
Yeah,
I've been with it.
I mean, God's got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Just look at me.
I've been with that preacher. One of the members got into a fight.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Lord.
And, you know, some little country churches was different. And the first snake hunting church I ever played for was way up in Sneeville, I do believe. I was with the Brewer brothers, Con Huntley's uncles. We went up there and I kept seeing that big old wooden box right there.
Yeah.
And I was standing there close to it and I said, they didn't handle them that night, but I didn't know it was a snake handling church.
They thought Papa was a snake handler because they saw the prayer request box at the front, right beside the pulpit. There was this box, and it had a slot in it where you could put in a prayer request or a tithe or a check or whatever to give to the ministry. And sure enough, they thought he was they thought that was his snake handling box. Yeah.
You ever seen? You seen? Lift them up. Oh, it wasn't a snake.
No. It wasn't a snake handling box. It was like a prayer request box that he had up there.
They just thought it was.
People see one thing and they immediately start talking. So,
you know, I'd say like Mr. If I'd noted, I'd told Mr. Walker about that, and he'd have put him in a box up there, and he'd done in it. He'd have some rubber snakes, you know.
Yeah.
He said that he had a thing made one time. The sign you had to step up on the box and look through a hole. It said, look at the world's biggest brick bat. Brick bat. And when you looked in there, it was a brick. You know, you do all kinds of crazy stuff like that.
Oh, my gosh.
If you're doing stuff, that'd have been real good, though, looking in there, all them rubber snakes.
Yeah.
But the next one I went to was in Virginia, and it wasn't a rubber snake. One of them weighed 36 pounds.
Good Lord.
And there's going to feed us. They had them in real pretty gold boxes. Handled. Me and John Rice went, and some congressman. And they fed us. There's probably 500 people there, but I've told it before. But anyhow, I walked over after church. We was fixing to go to eat. They had a big shed outside.
Yeah.
And I said, man, that's the biggest rattlesnake I've ever saw. He said, it weighs 36 pounds. I said, would you care if I picked it up in its gold box? It was heavy.
There's a rattlesnake?
Yeah.
I was going to ask if it was a boa constrictor.
No, with a rattler. He had the baby step on his tail.
Oh, man. Yeah, I bet you heard that.
Yeah, you ever play around a snake church?
I ain't never handled snakes, David. I'm Pentecostal, not crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, in my acquaintance down through the years, I've got hold of some I thought might be little snaky women, you know.
Plenty of those.
Hey, there are a lot of serpent spirits around, ain't there, Ron?
It is, I guess.
Now, that's another
Ron, I know
story.
he's had a lot of experience.
Here and there.
Hey, Ron, what you're supposed to say, David, if we want you to stink, we'll stir you.
Exactly. I'm just here for the ride, boys.
Oh, wait, were you talking about my
I'm
ex-girlfriend?
just pushing the buttons.
Yeah.
You talking about my ex-girlfriend? I ain't never handled
Yeah,
snakes.
yeah. Are you married? You ain't married, are you?
No, I'm not married.
Have you been close?
Have I been close? No, ain't gotten close. Ain't gotten close. I'm just starting again.
Hey, you know, the closest I got to get married, she run out and started cheating on me and her husband both. Me and Fred Smith was working at the Coliseum. We'd say, I'd say, Fred, how's your love life? Oh, she's cheating on me and her husband. And then, you know, that song come out. She's cheating on me and her husband again. They come out that song, you know.
That's an actual song?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Never heard of that one.
We was saying that years ago before it come out. You never know when you start saying something, somebody gonna grab it and go.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
But anyhow, it was, Lord, I saw some big deals and country music shows and all. But talk about, are you dating seriously now?
I am dating seriously now. Yeah, I'm dating to marry. So yeah, I do have a girlfriend currently right now. Her name's Victoria. So yeah,
Okay.
she's apostolic. So she ain't afraid to run a lap around the church and get excited for Jesus, and that's what I need.
You know
That's
a lot
what I
about the
need.
Bible and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
You've been studying a lot. You went to school. And
Yeah, I went to seminary for a semester, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you come out and started. You know, it's something that even if you go to school or whatever, you got to get it in your heart.
Yeah.
And you need a connection, like the guy wrote the song, "You can't see electricity, which moving on the line, but how can you doubt it when you see it shine?"
Mm-hmm.
See, you know it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But if that light was cut off, you still know that electricity's up there.
Right.
Yeah.
And right now, it's up there right now, you see the light.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, when you get salvation, you'll know that it's real, and you don't have to tell nobody
Yeah.
to tell you from the way that you feel.
There's plenty of things in life that are real that we can't see.
I know it.
Mm-hmm.
Gravity,
Oh, faith
The laws-
is works. You know, faith seven things work.
the things that are hoped for,
Yeah.
the evidence of things not seen.
Everything I've seen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff into that. I know you've done a lot of good gospel music, and you did last time it was on the show.
Yeah, I
and
love
all,
gospel music.
But you do it, and you do Elvis real good.
I appreciate it.
You're one of the best Elvis around
Yeah.
here that I've saw.
And so maybe one thing you don't know about me too is that I've recently fallen in love with country music, and one of my favorite country singers is Keith Whitley.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he was good. I worked on Grand Ole Opry with him. I got one of the
You did?
printouts, and Keith Whitney was working for Ralph Stanley.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah, it's a shame how he went out.
Mm-hmm.
I wish he would have been. If he would have stuck around and alcohol wouldn't have got him, he would have been.
You know,
He would have been just as up there with George Strait, just as good, or if not better.
Yeah.
than-
he was
than
good.
George.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was good. He was a bluegrass singer, and then he started doing that country. He was real good. Nice guy.
Him and
I
Ricky
like him.
Skaggs were good friends.
Mhm.
Him and Ricky Skaggs, good friends.
Oh yeah, they both was on
They,
there.
they grew up together.
Skaggs wasn't big in. He's just down in my category.
Yeah.
we all three was working on opera at the same
Opera,
time.
yeah.
So I guess we all got the same amount at the same time.
I did not know this about the Grand Ole Opry, but that when it comes to the Grand Ole Opry, never in their history has somebody ever booked a gig at the Opry. You have to be invited.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just always thought that was cool.
Well, I don't know why I was invited with the people I work for. But yeah. Well, they booked. I don't know how they booked it, but you get paid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Seemed to me like back in it might have been something like $90 or something.
$90.
$90 or something.
It might work different with musicians that play there compared to artists that are upcoming artists.
Oh yeah,
You know,
it's different with bands.
Yeah.
That's right. They used to know so they can advertise and book.
Yeah,
ahead of
because
time.
people.
Yeah, I worked as a band.
Yeah.
They didn't call me or nothing, but band. With a big limousine that they played a rerun of it back in days, in the 70s, and we could turn the radio and hear it coming, leaving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
But after it was over, they started playing. They said, turn the radio on. I was in a big limo, and they had a radio in the front seat and one in the back.
Yeah.
You can flip them on.
Dustin, how's your week been?
It's been pretty good.
Hop in here.
Been pretty good. How about yours? You sold any cars?
No. No.
Me and David just been working this week.
Why'd you ask that? I was so happy.
Getting it off your mind.
5 seconds ago. You just brought. I'm just kidding. No. I really don't care. I don't care. It's good to get away. It's good to get away.
I think Dustin ought to interview you, and then you interview him.
So, you ever thought about selling cars?
Y'all in an age bracket. So
well,
yeah.
I'm an old man.
We happen to be hiring.
I don't know none of this new stuff.
In fact, we're almost.
I don't either.
I forgot about most of the old stuff. So when you hit my age, it's just smooth sailing for the man. It's smooth landing. It's just sailing to it. Yeah.
Oh,
Dustin, how old are you now, Dustin?
35. I'll be 36 in June.
All right.
June 27th. Yep.
Okay.
How old are you?
21.
Oh, you still a
21.
baby?
The ripe old age is 21. That's what everybody keeps saying.
Yeah.
Everybody
I thought
keeps
you were
saying
older than that.
baby. I gotta let the facial hair grow out. Maybe I'll.
Nah, you want to look young long
You
as
know,
you can.
let's tell them again, because a lot of people
suppose.
don't know who you are. Ethan has got a grandpa that is
His name's Kenneth Ivy.
Kenneth Ivy.
Yeah.
Everybody in this county knows him.
Oh yeah, everybody in Clinton. They know him all right.
What did he do? What did he do?
He was an evangelist, and he was down in Florida for about 8 years. He started out in the Baptist church, and then how the story goes is that he got locked himself in his closet and he got full of the Holy Ghost. He wouldn't come out till he got full of the Holy Ghost and started speaking in tongues. And sure enough, it happened. He met my meemaw back in, I think they got married in '59. He was born in 1939.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he was born in '39, got married in '59. And then started building the church around '79, and then finally finished building the church and the school in '81.
Yeah, I went up and played.
Yeah.
Played there.
Did you go to the tent revivals too? The tabernacle that he had set up there? Yeah.
I went to that big church he had up there too and played on it.
Yeah.
Well, we used to have some big crowds there.
Yeah, that was
Man,
great.
they used to pile them in.
That was great.
Got this fellow named Brother Schubert, and he wanted me and Luke to go play in the band with him, and Kylie his band, I guess.
Yeah, the Singing Ivies.
Oh boy, they can sing.
Oh yeah.
What about your son, Jimmy?
Jimmy went to be with the Lord. He'd passed away from cancer. He passed away from cancer. Cancer got him, and he went to be with the Lord several years back.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I knew I hadn't saw him in a long time,
and
because he's traded outside of it a long time, bought the guitars.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, they all did.
Yeah.
Kent did. Even they're just a bunch of musicians.
Yeah. Papa taught him to play almost
come over a
anything,
lot,
and
yeah.
Jimmy could play the drums, bass, and
McCamey's, they come in and bought a lot of stuff. Back there's a store. The son-in-law was in the store, and his son last week is there.
Yeah.
Come in and stayed a while.
Yeah, I met Peggy McCamey once, and I wish I would have been able to meet her again, but she passed and went to
she
be
used
with
to
the
come over
Lord
and buy
soon.
stuff. Yeah, get to
Yeah, but yeah, she said she grew up with Papa, so I thought that was cool.
Oh yeah, I'd say she did.
Yeah, I think they went to the same school, and I don't think the school's there anymore. I forgot the name of it, but
yeah, he made a good mark in this county and the whole country. But I mean, he just was well known and well thought of. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
with everybody. Are you a minister or working for that? Or?
I mean, I know I've been called to preach, and I know I have a gift for teaching and a love for teaching people, and I've always been a great communicator, and I'm working on the listening part still, because I've always had a lot to say, but the truth is that God's given me 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you have to have the humility to truly listen to somebody, to not just hear them, but listen to what they're saying. So I've gotten better at that, and that's something I'm working on. But I was thinking about getting ordained as a Church of God minister. Costs about $500.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
that's
$500.
You'd
be a good one.
I'd appreciate that.
You said something right then. Now listen for points and everything everybody says. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
2 ears, 1 mouth.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
I heard a little story about that one time. It said the wise old owl sat in the oak. The more he heard, less he spoke. the more he heard. Why can't we be like that wise old bird?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you about the ministry. Even Ron probably don't know about this. I guess I'll show him.
Listen up, Ron.
I might not show
I'm
him.
intrigued now.
Hey, I
There ain't much I don't know about that.
Oh, man.
I might not show him.
Learn something new every day. Certificate.
Yeah.
I've done several shows with the ministry with Brother Schubert. Well, a bunch of officials of Tennessee has authority to making you a minister was there. And it's kind of strange. This fellow that rented from me, he got real sick. And he's in an Oak Ridge hospital and he had no family. And I didn't know him, but just when he come to start renting, must have playing guitar, and he started teaching lessons over there. And he was a guy who had his days and nights turned around, and he got up at 12, and when he did, he was ready to eat. But a lot of us doesn't eat, lunch even. Sometimes it's 2 o'clock and he come in.
Right.
But we always had something inside of him he'd eat. And he'd be going down the road helping me, right around doing little things, and he'd say, "I'm hungry, pull over." And I'd let him in somewhere, and he said, "This might be getting a little sticky. I don't know what's over, but anyhow, sometimes we need a little glue." But anyhow, we're going down the road. He said, "Pull over and eat. It's going to eat Chick-fil-A." I said, "It's going to eat." And I said, "I ain't hungry. I've done had lunch, but we ain't got nothing to do. I mean, it's what we're doing. Just running around." I took him in there and eat, and he said, "The reason that I like to eat at Chick-fil-A," and this might put a good thought on people's mind, he said, "is because they don't work on Sunday." And I said, "Well, I guess that's a good idea if that's what you feel about it, Right. I said, "But I'm glad everybody don't feel that way." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, if you was going to church and you had a wreck on Sunday, you're laying there on the highway, you need an ambulance. Them people working on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And you need a hospital. They're working on Sunday. And then I said, all this has to happen on Sunday. I mean, you got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. And if it's wrong for you, it's wrong for him. Well, I see it, and I understand why I see it. I think it's a good day to go. I go to church on Sunday morning instead of cut tree limbs and stuff. But if something broke down, if the oxen was in a ditch, I go pull him out.
Yeah.
So I don't make it I didn't take, and I'm glad I didn't have to take a Sunday job.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done a lot of it in my day. I had to play music and everything.
Yeah.
So we go on from that, and he called me. He had the nurse call me. He couldn't even call me. He got sick one morning, and I went down there to the store. He's living in the bunkhouse, and the ambulance was backing in to get him. And he smoked just like a fiend, and he was skinny. I mean, not skinny, but small. And they said something to him about smoking. Said, "Man, you smoke a lot. I'd rather smoke as eat food like everybody can get fat." He said. So he ate his own way, and it was okay. His way just good to him as mine is to me, and yours is to you,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's your life. You choose this day whom you'll serve. You sat there. Nobody's making you either want to do some of that stuff.
Of course, free will is a God-given gift.
That's right.
Everybody
And so,
has free will.
When he got put in the hospital, he wanted me to come see him real bad. And he did get loose and start with to call Faye. And he said, "If I ever get out of here, I got lung cancer. Said, if you see me put a cigarette in my mouth, knock me out, take it away from me." And she said, "Oh, that's okay." She talked to him a while, then he wanted me to come down there. And I never did know what he wanted. And by the time he'd be visiting ours, the girl, you couldn't get to him. He was taking care of that. That's his family. Well, I never could get to see him because by the time that I'd go and visit him and I could get back there, the girl was off the shift and said he called me. And to see, "Are you family?" And I went a time or two and they wouldn't let me in. So I was at this church playing, and there was a bunch of these big officials was there. And they said, "We'd like to do something to you, David." Said, "You played on these big concerts and stuff." And I said, Well, okay, if you want to, you know, some of them paid me and some of them take up offerings and stuff. Right. He said, we're going to make you a minister. I said, man, I ain't no minister now. I said, I've not been called to preach. I said, if I did, I'd be the first one to know it. And I'd be happy to do it. You know, it's supposed to be a thing. If you desire, it's supposed to be a good work.
It's not something that's supposed to be ordained by man.
They said, yes, but we're going to make it for you so you can go to hospitals and meet people. See, I didn't know that. If I had that, I went and sing. And they said, then I've got this big license at home, and right here it is with the net number and everything on it right here, state.
That's so cool.
Don't tell nobody I can marry people and stuff, but I don't want to get into it.
That's pretty cool. Well, David, I was just about to ask you, will you come marry me?
Let's see. Mine runs out next week.
Is expired? I knew he was going to say that.
You guys going to come up front, didn't you? But they give me this, and see, you can get in the hospital. I told them, I said, nah, I don't want to take that because I'm not a minister. And they said, no, you don't care if you'd have a license. It's good if you'd have a license. You can go see people. You talk to people, and you talk about the Lord and stuff. You don't have to, you can just be a teacher. Somebody wants to talk about it like you are.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I would, if I was on the board, I'd get you a license right now. I'd be, because, I mean, I've been around you a lot and heard the way you talk and stuff.
Yeah.
But they give me this. I don't know what year it was. I just look at my big thing at home. I've had a few people call me up and want me to marry them, and I try to get out if I can. But
well, you've got another additional caller headed your way in about a year. So
yeah.
I appreciate that.
But anyhow, I didn't think Ron knew that I had that license. But I did so many things in so many places. I was in Kentucky, and I spoke. The school teacher, I spoke up there, and I might have told this before, but I did a big thing for them, and when I got through, they made me a Kentucky colonel. They took everything down. A few days, I got this big this thing, the license plate put on your car, and I got the card. I may have it in my billfold here somewhere. And I said, what's that good for? And they said, well, if you was to come up here and see the Kentucky Derby, and it's sold out, they'll still get you in.
Oh, wow.
That card will take you inside.
That's impressive.
I didn't know that.
That's
well,
useful.
I went to Nashville, me and Luke, and we did a big show down there, and Gail Martin was with us, and a bunch of people.
Okay, yeah.
And Jim Hackworth was something.
He was state rep.
Okay. We went there and got the Capitol and done a big show. And about, I guess, 2 or 3 weeks later, here it comes. Tennessee Colonel. Oh, this is kind of strange, too. I thought this was a good measure. I went to join the Masons, become a Mason. Well, I didn't know it, but they said, you want to be a Shriner, don't you? And I said, yeah, I want to go. How's you go? I got 32nd degree, see. I went to Shriner, and while they was putting me in a Shriners, running me through it, they had a band, a bluegrass band called the Shriners Band. They had a van, they'd take you to other hospitals. And Rick Campbell was with me when I went through that. And they made us members of the Shrine Band. And we played a lot of shows with them. And Rick was they wasn't too good of a band, you know, about like me. I mean, but Rick, you know, Rick thought me and him was good musicians, and they'd miss it here and there, and it'd make him mad, you know. We'd be up on stage, and he'd say, I remember one night when they paid us, Karen was with us, she said, what about that? Them boys was happy as larks, because they thought we was big dudes, you know, we wasn't no bigger than them. And they was passing out the money. Rick said, take your money now and go take some lessons.
That sounds like something Rick would say.
Rick
just says what's on his mind. Oh, yeah.
You took flying, didn't you?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
He's going to let you kill yourself.
And he was tells you how it is.
He's going to let me, you told me either I was going to land or we was going to die. He changed his mind about 3 feet off the ground. That's true.
He pulled it back up.
He pulled it back up. Otherwise, we might not be here right now. Man. I finally got the hang of it.
Maybe you started getting low. Y'all said, bye, Rick. Like this guy was coming down Clinton Highway, one of my buddies, and he had, I believe it was a Falcon he was driving it. He's coming down through there, and he's windy anyhow, you know. And he come around one of them curves there, and he flipped it about 3 times. His car rolled it. The cab was all right. It didn't kill him, but it boogered him up. And Daddy said, boy, that's a bad wreck you had up there, wasn't it? He had bandages on him, you know. I don't think it broke nothing much, but it woke him up. Right. He said, yeah, I come around that curve, so I reckon I was just too fast. Said, I cut it to the right, and that didn't help. I cut it to the left, that didn't help. I tried to pull it back, and I said, folded my arms. I said, well, Burger King and Heavy Sure Way. Daddy said, what happened? He said, it flipped 3 times. That's so funny. He said, Burger King, Heavy Sure Way. You know, he was a funny guy. I don't think he done that. He probably was screaming.
Mm-hmm. Probably. I would have been screaming too, man.
Stuff happens so fast, you don't know what to do. Huh? I said, when you wreck like that, it happens so fast, you really don't know what to do.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say what happened, he had to go home and have his clothes washed.
Yeah, sounds more like it.
For sure.
Yeah,
probably.
Pants changed.
I've been in some of them scrapes too, you know, it's pretty bad. But
Yeah.
tell me some of your church experiences. Did you have any church experiences?
Church experiences? The positive ones or the negative ones?
Yes.
Well, we got thrown out or whooped. Kind of like the music deal. I played a lot of big stations and big shows. I also got thrown out of a few of them.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I've had people that didn't want me to be there, and I've gotten chewed out a couple times. So I'll start back in high school when I got my first girlfriend. I got my first girlfriend at this church, was a part of this youth group and a part of this choir. I joined their choir. And how the story goes is that I wanted to become a member, so I tried to become a member. Then I was talking to this was the associate pastor. This wasn't the senior pastor. So I'm talking to this associate pastor, and I wanted to become a member. He's like, well, you know, what do you believe? And, well, he kind of knew what I believed. He knew that I had a Pentecostal charismatic background. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, he's telling me, well, you know, that's just that your theological beliefs line up differently than ours. And, you know, they had a church constitution. And I was like, oh, great. So we've got a Bible and a constitution. And, like, you know, okay, where's the church covenant at? I mean, how many rules you guys got in here? Mm-hmm. Are we living back in the old covenant or what? So, but yeah, they had a church constitution and all that. And, you know, I didn't line up with their theological beliefs. And those theological beliefs were, you know, they didn't believe in the gifts of the Spirit that they are for today. Tongues, prophecy, all that jazz. They still believe in the gift of knowledge, you know, gift of knowledge. And they still believe certain gifts are for today, but then the rest of them, not anymore. They stopped. They ceased. And so I could not become a member of that church because of what I believed. And I just don't think that should happen.
It shouldn't.
But I could have went to the senior pastor, and he probably would have let me join, but I was kind of turned off at that point. Mm-hmm. So that's one example. That's one story.
Oh, he dodged the bullet on that one.
Yeah. Oh, wait, it gets better. Then I went to this other Baptist church, and this really has nothing to do with Baptist. This can happen in any church, Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal. But this other Baptist church that I went to in Oak Ridge, this pastor approached me about a piano that I was playing in their old sanctuary. The reason I say old sanctuary is because it got flooded around Christmas Eve one year. And it got flooded, so they were doing construction. It was all torn to pieces and everything, but they still had their piano in there and had great acoustics. So I'd go in there and practice with my vocals and play the piano and kind of warm up and practice. Right. And he comes walking in there. He's like, I want to have a conversation with you. And I'm like, all right. Okay. All right. Now what? But sure enough, he walks up to me and he's like, you know, and he basically is upset. I can't remember all of what he said, but basically he was upset that I didn't ask his permission to play the piano. Oh. And he was upset that I didn't come to him first. And, you know, he was talking about, I'm the shepherd of this church and I'm responsible. God has made me, you know, the shepherd of this church. And all I was getting was just ego. And, you know, this guy had anger.
Show authority.
Yeah, show authority. And he had anger issues. And so I was saying, okay, is this coming from you or is this coming from other people that have come to you about me? And then he said, this is coming from people that are in congruence. You know, so it was coming from other people. So it all started with other folks, and I have an idea of who those folks are. I think it might have been their piano player and another lady that was in part of the worship team that probably didn't appreciate the way I played the piano. And also, I guess the the lady that played the piano at that church would come in and tune that piano that I played in that old sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he was like, you just can't walk into a church and, start playing our piano. And I was like, well, I'm best friends with the worship pastor, and he never said a word. And in fact, he said that I could play the piano because nobody ever plays it anyway. So I knew I didn't need his permission because I had permission from Stephen. And then sadly, he passed away from genetic cirrhosis of the liver, and it was very, very tragic how he passed away and how he died. And I hate that. But yeah, so that was another experience too. And yeah.
I say sometimes people can be so heavenly minded they're no earthly good.
Yeah, too heavenly minded they're no earthly good.
Yeah.
You gave me an idea to tell one of the piano stories.
Here we go.
We're just feeding off each other.
This fella went to the doctor. He's playing harp for me. He was funny. I was trying to be a comedian. He said he's playing the harp. And he said, hurt his finger real bad. He had a big old...
You said he's playing the harp?
He's playing the music. He's playing the harp. He played the harp for me and bass. And I didn't know he could play piano, but he said, I said, man, you've hurt your finger. He said, yeah. I mashed it bad. I said, I went to the doctor, and they fixed it all up. So I asked him when he got through it, I said, now, am I going to be able to play the piano? And he said, well, sure. He said, well, that's good, because I couldn't play it before. That's just my piano story.
That's fun.
There you go.
That's good, yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
Different things, people don't understand what you do and what you are. We was telling this one at Soup Day. Was it last week we had Soup Day?
Last week.
So, yeah.
Yeah, last week.
Soup Day was
we had
last week.
Soup Day, and this guy was telling about different things that happened, when they come in, because he was Ray Rose was just a great guy, a great musician. We was talking about when we first started doing songs, and I was working for Bond and Buster, and on the network television, 28 states, I thought that was pretty big, and Opry and Grand Ole Opry and stuff, and I thought, well, shoot, they called me up to play with this big band. There's one of them big old xylophones or whatever it is, and they had all kinds of fancy stuff in it. And I thought, but when he called me, and he said, David, I want you to come play banjo on some square dance records. Just any of them that's got a square label.
Square dance
I was on most
Okay.
of them. Square tunes. This was for a big outfit. They called them and they sung it off.
Mm-hmm.
They sung it off, and it was a big thing. I mean, they made lots of records, and I was on a lot of them, me and Darryl Putt and him. But when he called me up, he said, told me what time to be there. Well, I wasn't early. The other bunch got there early and went through them and practiced some songs. And so when I went over, I just got there, and the reason he come in right on the minute, because he's working at a TV station, he didn't get off, see. And he come in, and they said, he was telling me this song first day, I ain't never heard it nowhere on radio or nothing, but it had a lot of changes, 13 changes.
13 changes.
And when they called me, I thought this square dance, you think of Cabbage Bar, Cabbage Down, or old Joe Clark. And I said, I don't need to go over and practice that old stuff with him. Well, when I walked in, I said, good night. They played that thing. And I said, listen to that, Ray. I said, do you know it? And he said, no, I just got here. And I said, I can't play that. I don't know it. I don't even know what they're playing. He said, well, we'll just write it on chart. So he wrote it down. He showed me how to read it. I've never read one. I never had done it. Of course, I'm sitting there with a suit and a tie on, and I was ready to go.
Like it was a chart of the National Number System?
No, they had their own here at Knoxville.
Oh, okay.
These boys had their own. But it was good, and it's easier. Well, Nashville system's good, but this was even easier than that. It had D's and C's and D's. You know where to go to. Well, I said, see if you can play it. He run through it, and I said, I learned it with you that quick, so I learned it just enough to get through it. Just as they started, okay, everybody stand by. Now, the banjo's got the kickoff on this. Oh, I sweat bullets. And I started picking it. When I did, I had one of them clip ties, and I bent over, and it fell right down across the string. Hold it. got to do another take on this. Just take your tie off. You don't care. So I just took it off and laid it down. And Darrell Pewitt was playing it. I had to do, bring it up for him to start it, see?
Mm-hmm.
It was 4 changes. I had to do 4 changes right quick, or 5. And then he took it. And then I had to play a break, too.
Mm-hmm.
And fiddle, Jerry Moore and fiddle had the very best people on it. Stoney on steel. Well, he's playing bass, I believe, that day. But they had real high-dollar musicians. And he was telling me, he said, that's where you learn to read it. Our number system, they had a number system, too. It's a little bit different in Nashville. It's the way they saw it, the way they wanted it. And I said, yeah. He said, I remember when David I said, you stand there with me and taught me how to do it. And then I had to play it right then, David. You know, you get in some predicaments in the music business, but Ray was telling us a lot of funny stories, you know, about Cass Walker and all different things about things that he'd do. And he would fly his coon dogs to everywhere. Walker dogs was a high-dollar dog. It was a big thing. It was a big business. He had 3 Kindles. And he'd make them old crates. He'd get them old slats and stuff off where the guys produce and stuff at them old boxes, halfway built. And I heard of a guy that works for the airliners. He said, boy, I hate to pick up anything that belonged to Cass Walker. He said, he gets them old store crates, wires them together, put a big old vicious dog in it. He said, we got up there in the airplane, they hollered, whoever's back in the back where they haul all that kind of stuff, you know, he said, we got a bad dog back there. Somebody's going to have to catch him. Said he got out of that crate. He said he didn't like none of us. He was telling that guy to do the flying. You know, work for the airplane. He was talking about it. He said, oh, he said, his old dogs will get out right. That'll fry you up in the air. He said, some of them ain't friendly, you know. Miss Walker tell, boy, I got one like yesterday. He said, Betty, he's bad. Said he's big. He said, I named him General. And he said, I liked him, boy. He's a real coon dog. But said that, what he done, he wanted to be dominant to every other dog. He said, he'd get out and say, I had some good dogs, you know. And said, I laid him out the car and said, I had a couple of good dogs over, and said he jumped on both of them. He said, made me so mad, so I took my stick. He carried a big old stick about 4 foot right down on the side of his car. He called it his walking stick, or he knocked you in the head with it. He won. He said, I took that stick, so I wore him out on that dog. But he said when he got through eating that dog up, he went over at the bushes and scratched. You know, like the dogs do. Mr. Walker said, I beat, you know what, I did, and I went over and scratched. I said, now jump on another dog. We get him telling on TV, he'd get up and stand up, you know, scratch. Well, he scratched, but it didn't look like no dog. We get him to do.
I like to see that. That's crazy.
If we could get him on a good one, we'd have him tell it every day, you know, for a while. I remember one time they called in and said, told FCC called in and said, now you're going to do something about that man that's doing all that talking. And said, that's supposed to be a musical show. Said, and the only thing we'd do would be a kickoff. Things, pick up the morning paper and go off and pick up the morning paper. He'd get us up there. Come on now, I need some music. Get up here. But now while they're getting ready,
he started talking.
Tell you about this stuff that happened down in Dalton or Townsend or somewhere in the store. And directly it'd say, stand by, it's commercial time. Well, there we was, water running down our backs, and we just sit back out there and cool off a little. Now be ready to go when I come back out there, and you go back out there, and we stand there ready, and he talked the whole thing. And they got actress to just. He was just one more fella. I tell you what, I loved him to pieces.
Sounds like you've had quite the life, David.
Huh?
You've had quite the life.
It's part of it, yeah. We had a lot of good times. The good times was traveling with him. And
did Ray Rose work for Mr. Walker? Did Ray work for Mr. Walker? Ray Rose?
No, what I was going to tell you about Ray. Ray worked at the TV station.
He was.
And he told another story about Mr. Walker too. He said, "See, what's that song? Dooley."
Oh.
Well, Bob Dooley was the main guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was the engineer. I mean, he was a big dog.
Yep.
Well, he left to hear us play, and Ray was telling about it. And he'd come down in the morning out of his big office and sit down there because he liked us. He'd come down. He just liked music. He'd come over and talk to us, big man over, and he'd say, Channel 10, and he'd talk to us, and he'd say, play me a song this morning. I want to hear so-and-so. We'd do it, me and Red and Fred. And when we did, he got coming down just about every morning or two. He'd come down. I guess he wasn't too busy. He'd stand over. He'd come out the door and just stand there and watch us.
Yeah.
And wave at us, and we'd do some songs, and he'd stand there, and he liked it. Well, Mr. Walker got up one day and walked over to him. He didn't know who he was, so he didn't know he was the main guy. He said, what's your name, sir? And he said, I'm Bob Dooley. He said, was you needing something? And Mr. Walker said, Dooley said, no, I didn't need anything. He said, well, what do you come down here? Why are you in here every morning? And he said, well, I just watching the show, I like the boy. And he said, do you work here or something? And he said, yeah, I work here. He said, what are you? I'm the program director. I'm the man, what do they call him? I said, I'm the main man. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
By the way, I'm the reason you're here.
In front of everything. And just what is it you do here?
What is it you do here?
He thought he'd just come down loafing, No, wow. He was serious. If anybody walked in that he didn't know, he'd walk up and say, was you wanting something? I mean, he did. He thought maybe he wanted to get up and talk on TV or maybe advertise something. Or was you needing something? He'd say, he was nice about it. But that tickled Ray, that's Ray's boss, and he said, they'd get him when he'd come through the office. Ray said, what is it you do? Shut that up.
So they made fun of him from that point on.
Ray, he retired from working for TV. He was over audio, the whole business. I mean, sound.
Yeah.
He had to hear it. It had to be mixed. It had to be everything. Had to be right for him. He had a big job with. He was with BIR.
WBIR.
And ATE too. He'd been with AT before, and then he went to BIR. But the way it's set up. See them big guys, and when they finally fixed BIR, where they had a big window, you could look right in there to us. But before that, they was upstairs, and they just went by cameras.
Mm-hmm.
They watched everything you done by camera, but they couldn't see what was happening out in the hall.
Right.
Or they couldn't see the whole picture.
No.
And then they got down to the bottom, they had the grass all around. In a place like this, and we're out there, and you can see who's walking up. You can see everything. It made it a lot easier on them.
Mm-hmm.
But they was doing it with the camera to start with. And, when he had that fight and he hit that woman that time, he was, they had it on camera.
What happened?
Well, this lady came out and had borrowed some money from Mr. Walker and on some bonds, and she wanted to put them back in. She worked for church, and she needed, that's the way he told me. Let me tell you the way he told it. He had took some bonds, and the churches won't know where the bond is at. She said, I'll bring them. I got them at home in the strong box, She said, Mr. Walker, give me them bonds. I'm going to take them, show them to them, and then I'll bring them back to you. Well, she wouldn't. $1,000 back in them days, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so she got mad because he said, I ain't giving it to him. You give me my $1,000. Well, it was on live, every morning. Well, she said that. Well, she didn't know that he was on a commercial break. And, you didn't know nothing. I mean, we know what we're doing. See,
right.
They'd say, stand by, and then we'd flip a song. We had to be, when they say, stand by, we'll be coming to Mr. Walker, coming to the band, And we know we had to start just quick. You see yourself on camera.
Mm-hmm.
So you had the camera. Quick as it started, you had to start talking or picking. I mean, you can't stand there. That's the reason I can't stand off time at a show.
Right.
Because I was used to doing it on the instant. And he was on break. She said, I'm just going to walk out here and tell him what you are. So she walked out in front of the microphone and camera, but it wasn't on. It was on a commercial. And she started saying dirty words about him and everything, and it made him mad, and he got up and knocked her down. Knocked her out.
Knocked her out.
Yeah, but there's
a big difference there.
He caught her by the hair of the head and drug over. And then after he'd done that, he said that, and he walks straight over there and sat down in his chair. And they said, stand by, Mr. Walker.
It's like nothing happened.
I mean, the timing was perfect. Just mad as a wet hen. He walked over sitting there in his chair and said, stand by, Mr. Walker. Now, we got patience this week. Now, this week only $2.99 for 2 big, tall cans. He just took selling groceries. Nobody knows nothing. The people upstairs didn't know what happened. The camera people know. Everybody out there knowed. But they didn't know. And they had called the ambulance to come get her.
Man.
And then it went on from that. It got worse.
Yeah, it got worse. I'm not surprised.
How could it get much worse?
How could it get much worse? Where to go from there?
Let's wait on part 2, okay?
Part 2 will be here on the next show.
Part 2. You know, he had all sorts of people on the show. I didn't know how this acted. I mean, I didn't know what caused it, and I still don't. This guy was named Little Moses, and he weighed about 100 pounds. But he had something in his brain. He could lay down on a bench and you couldn't pick him up. Nobody could pick him up. Big people grabbed him. He'd say, now wait just a minute. I'll tell you when you can't pick me up. And Mr. Walker said something about his brain that made him weigh so much or something. I don't know. He didn't know what it was. Huh. I mean, you could walk over and get him and you couldn't pick him up. Well, you know, I could lift 100 pounds. Right. He might be at 125. He's Little Moses, and he'd lay down. Now, if he took that off, you could pick him up. I don't know what caused it now. I mean, it's a true story. So Mr. Walker said, you know, he's telling somebody about it. One day I was with him, was driving. He said, you know, said, I never saw nothing. I guess I'd get him on TV and show people what he could do. And said, I got so mad one day. So I said, I'm going to throw that little, you know what, up. He got him on TV, and he said, he had told us that part, but he said, I went over that time and I grabbed him. Said, I grabbed him and said, I was going to lift him, and he said, I strained so hard on him, my hemorrhoids come out. He said, my hemorrhoids come out. He said, but I said, well, Mr. Walker, did anybody ever pick him up? I said, yeah. We went to school. There's a big fat woman there. He laid down on the bench and said, before he got his mind straightened out into that weight thing, she grabbed his foot up and Ireland hit the floor like killing him. Then he hit the floor for a wallop. Oh, he said, I wasn't ready for you, boy. As he went up, I ain't ready yet. That'd been something to see, but
Little Mo.
You know, he had a lot of people work for him, like Little Robert. Yeah. Little Robert's legs was 6 inches long. He had normal feet. He had a normal body from right here at the belt all the way up from his legs, but his legs was just about 6 inches tall. You've never heard this one? Well, you need to look him up on television and see what he looked like. I mean, he wore a hat, coat. He's a normal size. A pretty good size, about like any of us.
Yeah.
Man, you remember him, don't you?
Yeah, oh, no, I'm...
He had about 10 or 12 shoes, you know, but he didn't have no legs. He'd just walk with his hands, and he'd walk with his feet. You go down the street, it's kind of funny, get there on the street, and he'd just raise them 2 little legs up and just walk on his hands. And he said, and dogs hate him. Oh, they hate him. And see, this
was it Ellie's dog that got on him? No.
This is the thing that they did at shows. You go out to a schoolhouse show. I remember a few years ago, you know, we was working with Jerry Clowers somewhere down in, I don't know, down south. Jerry Clowers and Ava Barber had just left they closed down the Lawrence Welk show. She had her own bus and doing her own traveling. Yeah. And I traveled just a little bit with her. I didn't know why I left home, but I did. And we got there and we played for a big honey factory, this big old farm where they raised honeybees. Yeah. Oh, they had this big old glass place, and you could watch all them bees working, and they had it where they could just, that's awesome. They could rob them, take them trays out, and put new ones in, and it was a setup like, I like to look at it, but I couldn't explain it all to you. Right. They had hundreds of gums there, and them bees just working up, and it's getting that honey out. I mean, they're working at it. It's a job. Oh, yeah. And, it's a big, pretty farm, and they had Jerry Clowes and Ava Barber show. And I was on the Ava Barber show, and we played for it. And, of course, they took us back in a big dining room, fed us real good. But Used to, when you did a show, I remember back when I started to do that, you go home with you can go eat at restaurants sometimes, way back. It's worse before, different before I went. There's already doing different, eating steaks at restaurants stuff. But let's say now, when we get through the show, you come home, we got a big dinner planned for you, and you come there and they make biscuits and gravy, and they cook them country people. They have some of the best food.
Oh, yeah.
But this particular time, Mr. Walker had Red and Fred and all of them. I wasn't with one, and had little Robert. Well, they went and said they all jumped out of the car and they started walking up the house, and said Robert was cutting up with him, and he'd take that little old lady and kick you on the chin, on the ankle, right by her. He'd say, you'd walk up there and he'd say, come on, Hoss, and hit you that. Oh, Fred said that hurt so bad. And so he'd be walking on his hand, he'd kick you with his feet. He'd kick 12 inches with that 6-inch leg, that old big shoe, I guess, got you. And he was walking up there kicking at him and cutting up, he's always a cut up.
Oh, my God.
And he went up through there. Here come a German police dog after. He said dogs hated him. And said he'd come around through there and said he was down there with the dog,
Yeah.
Said he weighed that dog out there and said he had warm hands. Said he hit that dog on the chin and broke his neck, knocked him deader than a mackerel.
Man.
He said them people was taking him up. And boy, he said they got angry.
Well, yeah.
Killed their dog, The dog laying there dead. He said, I said, did you eat? We went ahead and eat, but they wasn't very friendly all night. He said, it wasn't a place they wanted you to eat seconds. So he said, we went to this house one time, Carl's store in Rammer Mountaineers. He said, Carl and them boys eat like hogs, and said, they cooked up a big breakfast, and they scarfed it all up, that bunch of hillbillies did, and said, that woman, little lady said, said, I didn't know y'all was so hungry. He said, I could cook some more. And Carl's store said, well, we ain't no hurry, so just go ahead and cook some more. He said that bunch of hogs sat there and waited. She cooked another breakfast and ate all in.
Wow.
Oh, they would do some.
You can't stop a country boy when there's business.
They really pull stuff on each other, too. And, you out there like that, you just do things that it's funny. And it pulls something on somebody or something, they thought that's funny.
I'm all about pulling tricks on somebody. Yeah, just kidding.
they sung one night, it's on radio one day up there, and I'll tell you who was, Audie Webster was, he was real, he'd do all kinds of.
Oh, who's that?
That's the Webster brothers. They were real good. They got some records on and all out, but they was singing Echoes from the Burning Bush and singing on the radio. He got the broom, took his cigarette lighter and lit it, and come up there holding it. It's thinking, Echoes, they all started coughing. Folks, we're going to cut it short here because
Start a
Burning
fire.
Bush is making them sick, I do believe, And they stomped it out. One of them had yet to be talking.
Yeah.
And see, the way they done it, there'd be 8 or 10 musicians on the radio. Well, they played so much. Every morning, the radio and TV at night, TV in the morning. You play so much, you just got to where you don't want to do it. You don't care to do it, but you just assume somebody else done it. You can sit there and rest.
Yeah.
And so Bud Brewster, I'd watch him. Whoever sit back on about 5 or 10 benches, that's a big studio where you could have a church and everything in it. But anyhow, it's WKXV. And whoever's sitting there like you're about half asleep resting, we got somebody wants to hear a banjo tune. We're going to put Bud Brewster up right next. And he's way back there. He can't even get to the microphone, So here he is, Bud Brewster, and they'd walk off and he'd say, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here today. He's running, trying to get, he had to be doing something because it'd be off the air. Right. And he was screaming, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. And he's toned down before they got up to him. Let me get my banjo here, folks. And I believe we got a request for this. And he had to make up a story right quick.
Yeah.
You couldn't hit dead time. You could take,
Dead air.
You listen to yourself on radio, if you go off 5 seconds, the station's gone off. That's what it sounds like.
Right. Oh, yeah.
First time I played on radio was YSH when it was over here in little box-in place, and
down on Market Street.
They introduced me, David West and Mayor Mitten, going to play a little bit of Cripple Creek. Well, they should have kept talking, but when he said that, I said, you know how you are, and messed my bridge and stuff. And Mayor Mitten's wife taped it on New Bell House. He bought a recorder.
Yeah.
Well, we come back. It's the first time I ever played on radio. I was real young. And I said, how'd it sound? She said, well, it sounded all right. I thought the radio station went off. You like never got started. And I listened to that, and I just messed with my banjo a few seconds, but it was dead. Wasn't nothing going on. A lot of people change stations when it does that.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, I ain't never doing that again. When somebody introduces you, there's two things when they're introducing you. You need to be standing there looking at the audience like you're getting charged, because you are getting charged. He's putting you in charge right then. You got to get up there and, oh, yeah, and have something. Thank the people for being there. And then,
got to be engaged.
You got to be doing something real quick. I mean, real quick. If you ain't, it starts getting dead, and the audience will start getting
lose them.
When you get relaxed, you can't get them back up on their hand again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
And so, I started out with the big boys. I heard that, and I said, from now on, they introduce me, I'll be doing something. Be coughing or doing something, saying something or sneezing, or you got to have some noise.
Whatever it is.
But then I went to work. See, I went to work with professional people. Like Monty Buster was Grand Ole Opry people. They travel with the Osmonds, and we travel with a lot of big stars, you know. And of course, they done television. I mean, I'll tell you how it was. I'd walk out on television and hold my banjo. Everything would be tuned. We'd be ready to go. And we could talk and cut up. So they said, stand by. When they said stand by, you didn't have to you couldn't adjust nothing. And see, usually the banjo kicked it off. And so before I started talking to him, I put my fingers on the strings I was going to pick and my note. And it says, stand by, 1, 2. They count 3, 4, silent. Stand by, 1, 2, 3, 4. And when he hit 4, I go, do. I mean, just quick, he said 4, I had to hit it. See, I mean, I come up under professional, and it's hard. We're doing real good at Wild Wings and places now, these shows, because I talk till they get ready. But I got them walking up to the microphone because they're going in charge the second you start talking to them.
Yeah.
They're the man. It ain't me, it's them.
You're shifting their attention.
I'm just putting them on.
Yeah.
He needs to be talking, singing.
Yeah.
Anything he's doing, whatever he does is better than nothing.
That's right.
Yeah, you're shifting the audience, so you're shifting.
Yeah, I got with Con Honey's uncle, and he's another professional. You know, he's a real professional. And one night we was playing a show, and he said, he turned over to his mandolin player and told him to take a break. And the mandolin player said, shook his head, no, boy, you got balled out right. So he said, listen, son, don't you ever shake your head no to me on stage. He said, if you don't know the song, play one you do know. Oh, Joe Clark, I don't care what you play, but play, because I'll even get you a big hand. Let's give him a big hand. And then I'll bring it right back into the song. I then said, we're up here to make each other look good. He said, when you shook your head no, you made us all look bad, amateur. You turned us all into amateurs. He said, so when I tell you to take a break, even if you don't know it, just play something you know, and I'll get you a big hand. Oh, listen to this mandolin, give him a big hand. And so I'll come right back in where we was at, see? And it was true. He could turn a mistake in to a party, having good, having fun.
Yeah.
But you can't turn nothing into nothing.
That's right.
Can't turn nothing into nothing.
Ain't nothing from nothing, lose nothing. You didn't have nothing.
Yeah.
Tell us about the first time you was ever on stage.
First time I was ever on stage. Well, that would technically be a church, you know, where I grew up, the Evangelistic Center, Faith Christian School, you know, got up. I remember the first song I ever did. It was Jesus Will Outshine Them All. Yeah, first gospel song I ever did. Yeah, first song I ever learned.
Did you have music or?
Yeah, I think
guitar.
Yeah, I had some people backing me up. Yeah, we have the Dykes family over there. Had a bass and drums, and you know, started playing guitar before I started playing piano. So, yeah, it's the first gospel song I ever did.
What about your first Elvis impersonation?
My first Elvis impersonation. I've never considered myself an actual impersonator of Elvis, but he's always been one of my big inspirations. One of my big stars. Yeah. One of the main guys that I've always looked up to. I just relate to him a lot. You know, I really do. And so I think the first time I really ever started to like fall in love with Elvis and started to sing his songs was probably around 16, 15.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You've been doing it for a while now.
Yeah, I've been doing it for quite a bit. I copy a lot of his mannerisms, like, you know, his dance moves, of course, the way I move on stage, the way I sing, certain techniques. So that's what makes me sound like him sometimes. Awesome. Yeah. But yeah, I'm still trying to develop my own sound, because there's, you know, the world's already had Elvis. You know, they need something new, need something fresh.
You do good though.
One of the main problems that I have with music these days is that everybody seems to be doing the same thing.
Same exact
dressing the same.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard work. It's difficult. You know, it takes effort to create your own individuality and your own identity in music, and it's hard to step away from the status quo, because everybody wants you to do the status quo,
right,
because that's what's making the money. But because investors and the music business doesn't want to invest the money and time to help you develop your own sound. But if they do that, and however long it takes, they're going to end up making more money, because people are going to be like, look at this guy. Look at this girl.
Unique.
It's unique. We've never heard this before. They're going to pay so much more money. You're going to make a lot more money. Everybody's going to make a lot more money, because at the end of the day, that's really all they care about.
Well, it's bigger risk, bigger reward.
It's bigger risk. Yeah, bigger risk, but more reward.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the essence of life, though. More risk, more reward. And I feel like the reason that there's less interesting things in music these days, and it seems like all the artists are doing the same thing, and you know, it seems like everything's starting to be watered down. It takes 10 or 12 songwriters to write one song, and you know, it feels like the creativity's dying.
Well, Graylin James, he's in Nashville right now.
I haven't heard Graylin James, but I've heard. I know you sent him to Nashville.
Oh, he's had at least one #1 hit already.
Okay.
But numerous artists have recorded his stuff. But when he first went to Nashville, he came back and was telling me that he and a couple other songwriters, they'd go to Sonia Isaac's husband. I can't remember his name. Jimmy. His last name not Isaac. But anyway, they were writing for him.
Yeah.
Publishing company.
Yeah.
And they'd go into separate rooms, turn the radio on, and listen and write lyrics to the actual songs on the radio. Same song, same melody, and that's how they started writing, because that's what was selling. Yeah. And that, you know, exactly what you just said. And I mean, Graylin he's unique, but that's what they were doing. That's how they were bringing him up to write, getting him started to write.
Yeah.
And so, and I don't know, you've probably seen it where they can take like 8 different country songs.
Yeah.
And each on a different channel and play them together, and they're the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So it's gotten, the industry's gotten kind of stale, you know. Think about the last big star you can think of. You know, we don't really have any just superstars anymore that come out and, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like there's also a disconnect between the two generations, like my generation and your generation, or David's generation, however you want to put it. And what I mean by that is, I'll tell you what I saw one time on a video. Ronnie Dunn was on the stage, and he had somebody opening for him, or he had a guest singer on this. Parker Presley.
Okay.
Parker Presley. Yeah, Parker Presley was on the stage, and Parker Presley put a chain in his mouth, and you could see Ronnie looking at him and telling him, grabbing him like this, like, take that. You can't hear him, but you can read his lips, like, take that chain out of your mouth. So, you know, there's what I mean by disconnect is that Ronnie is probably like, that's so unprofessional. What is he doing? But, you know, Parker's probably not thinking anything about it. And then people in the comments are saying Parker's egotistical. And I don't know Parker. I'm not saying he's egotistical. I'm just saying this is the kind of stuff that I'm seeing and I'm witnessing. So, you know, I think there's things that my generation's doing differently that maybe the older generation thinks is unprofessional, or, you know, that ain't it, or that's not the way it should be done. But, I mean, also Ronnie, I think he's been touring recently. I've seen him on tour a lot. And I don't know when his tour is going to end, but you know, I think a part of him's like, man, you know, it's like I'm at the end of the road. I mean, he's made so many hits, and one of my favorites, Neon Moon.
Yeah,
it's one of the greatest songs he's ever written a song. And
Brooks and Dunn they got back together for a little while, didn't they?
Did they separate?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't hear much about Brooke. You see, I got Brooke and Ronnie messed up. I thought Brooks was the one singing all the songs, but does he do backup?
Kix Brooks, Ronnie Dunn. Kix kind of was the beginning of the band. His dad was in the music business. They met early on. And Kix is kind of who got the band started. Ronnie, of course, was always the lead vocalist. But when they split, it was nasty. And Kix went out on his own. We brought him to Oak Ridge to the Secret City Festival. Merle did.
Wow.
And, it was bad. I mean, it was bad for a long time.
I didn't realize they had a nasty split.
Yeah, it was bad. And, in fact, one time we were going to bring Ronnie. I was going to bring him out to Cotton Eye Joe's.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't go through, but I got a chance to talk to them. And, yeah, they split. I mean, they did. But then I heard, in fact, they did. They got back together, and I know they did some shows in Vegas just because of the sheer money.
Was it a disagreement on business or just personal things that we don't know about?
I think they've been together for 20 some odd years. Both of them felt like Ronnie felt like that. He was the show because he was for the most part, the lead vocalist.
Yeah, he was the lead vocalist. That tends to happen.
And Kix at the same time was a person that kind of brought the opportunity to the table. So they both had. I think it was just clash of egos, and they made so much. So much money. And I think it's kind of like a divorce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they did. I know they got back together. I don't know how long they stayed back together, and I know that they released an album with a bunch of new artists doing their stuff with them.
Yeah, Morgan Wallen did Neon Moon with them.
And so, they I guess they were smart enough to put their differences aside, make one more run at it, like they need the money.
I mean, I think that's cool. I can't say I wouldn't do that.
No, sure.
I would take
well, too, they were together so long, they probably just, at some point, it's not what's it worth to be an enemy with somebody that you basically grew up with on stage,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't hurt anybody but you when you hold a grudge. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it doesn't.
Unforgiveness is like trying to kill the rat, but you're drinking the rat poison.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna hurt you more. You're hurting yourself more.
Mm-hmm. So and again, I don't know all there is to know about it, but I know it was really, really bad. I have a friend. Well, Big D and Bubba used to do the morning show for us over on Merle, and they're syndicated. And I'm friends with Derek, and he's really good friends with Ronnie. So I got to know, a lot of folks didn't know how bad it was, but it was bad. They at the end of the career, they had separate buses. They arrived separately. They didn't speak one word to each other. They didn't talk to each other. They didn't do anything. And they entered Brooks and Dunn. They'd enter the stage from separate entrances. They'd the facilities.
Gosh. And
they didn't communicate on stage. You didn't know it. You didn't know that they were mad at each other.
Tell.
And they left separately. It got bad, but anyway, maybe they're back. Maybe they're okay with each other now because they came back.
Yeah. And did Alan Jackson just stop touring too?
I heard he did.
Yeah.
I think he did.
Is he finally putting it up? Or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Alan's he's getting up there.
I heard he was dealing with some illnesses.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it is, but he's got something. I can't remember. But yeah, there's a lot of the I guess 90s artists that now are calling it a day. Mm-hmm. Now Brian Orr up at Country Tonight Theater, he's made a good living of bringing these guys back and doing stuff like he's bringing Sarah Evans here in May, and he brings like T.G. Shepherd and T. Graham Brown, some of these older, and they still draw. They still do great. They still do. They'll fill that place up.
That's awesome.
Good music's good music forever. It's like you put on Patsy Cline, it never gets old.
It never gets old.
It's just like you're talking about Elvis. It never gets old. It's timeless. Yeah. If it's good, it's timeless.
Yeah, timeless. That's what I'm looking to create as an artist as well. So,
good luck. Good luck. It's music business is a nasty business. If it was cutthroat business when you get up to that level. Get big, it is. But there you go. What else, Dave?
I think
how was Soup Day?
Huh?
How did Soup Day go?
Oh, it went good. We had a full house. Went real good, and we had of course, Barney and Dustin there was serving, and Mike, he's gone on a little vacation. He's in Florida. I know in Atlanta, below Atlanta, ain't somewhere down there.
Florida.
And he was there and me, and I turned it over to them, let them just run it, because I thought somebody else needs to do this once in a while. If I don't give them
But you had a good turnout?
About 30, 40 people, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's good.
I think. Between 30 and 40 people. It's good.
That's good.
All of our tables were full the first round, and we left and had to go do something and come back. He said there's another group come in, but anyhow, Dustin's been helping me a lot lately.
Good.
I've been teaching him a lot of tricks.
He's got a lot to teach.
We was out yesterday, and we had a 2 foot. We had a piece of tin.
Mm-hmm.
We needed about 3 foot off from it. It was about 5 or 6, and he said, "How we gonna cut it?" And I looked and didn't have no cutters in my cart. Usually I carry everything, so I just took my hatchet out, laid it down on the ground, and I just looked. Of course, I've done a few of them. I looked right where it ought to be. I didn't even measure it. I hit it one lick, and it cut it about that wide.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't just lay it down on the ground and cut it. You got to stand on it so it'll be real firm on the ground. If you learn to hit, and boy, he surprised me. He really surprised me. I'd done about half of it, and I said, "I'm getting tired of you do it, because I can't stoop over very long. It'll catch my breath off." He got down there, and he was hitting right on just like I was. Cut it in 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it didn't take us long.
We done it faster than you done it for Ed Smith.
Oh, yeah.
We was faster.
There you
But
go.
now, where I learned that at
Yeah, I never cut
was from my uncle. He used to cut cars up.
That's for you. Bare with his hands. Cut a car.
He'd take an axe, and he'd see a car where he wanted to cut it in two. Every leg was just right in line. He'd chop that thing, boy. He could chop. I learned a lot about cutting. This old man showed me how to cut Christmas trees. And a lot of things has to be done the first lick.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what counts. If you chisel, Drake, you'll start going everywhere. This old man had bib overhauled on, he'd walk up. Wasn't in no hurry or fidgety. He'd say, "Which tree do you want?" And I said, "This one right here, I want it right here." He cut it on an angle, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't cut straight off. But he'd take that double bit, get you a double bit axe with a real thin blade. He'd walk up to that tree and look at it and go, wham! Hit it real quick and hard with pressure.
Yeah.
Bam, hits the ground.
That's impressive.
So I learned to do it that way.
It's professional cutting right there.
I've cut thousands of them that way. Double bit axe. I got me a sager. Get you a full sager. It's real thin and double bit. Man, you can do a lot.
I've got a tree that I need cut down.
Well,
I'm just 4 minutes away.
I got a guy that does my tree work. I'll tell you crazy.
Oh, all right.
He does real good. He just done some for me.
Yeah.
Hey, I had this big pine, and they cut the top out. I was afraid to blow and hit me on the house.
Mm-hmm.
And they left two big old long limbs, three on this side and one on that side, and it looked like he just cut the top out. That's what they did. They didn't ball it down.
They didn't shape it.
And I called him, and he said, "Yeah, I'll run over and do it for you, David." Said, "It's Friday evening." And I said, "I didn't tell you bring your climbers." He said, "Oh, you got a ladder?" And I said, "Extension ladder about 20 foot." He said, "If I can just get to the first limb, I can go through that like a monkey." And boy, he did. He got up there, and I never saw him more until he started sawing. He'd come back down, and he'd done it all in 30 minutes.
That's impressive.
Good Lord.
He's something to watch. He's a nice guy, a good friend of mine, and he's turned his life over to the Lord. He's on a lot of stuff that he didn't need to be on, and he looks so much better and feeling better and everything. Just he wants to, and he knows a lot of Bible. He said, I took him up there and Swain talked. We were sitting there talking a minute, and he kept me for 2 hours preaching to me, and I sat there and listened to him. And I hate to say this, but I wasn't dozing off, but I was checking my eyelids for holes.
That's right.
I was sitting there, and he said, "Are you asleep on me?" I said, "No, I'm listening to you." He said, "What did I say?" It so happened I could say it. It caught me in luck.
Could you say it again? I just love to hear it first time.
I told him what he was talking about. I didn't tell him word for word. I guess you was listening.
You got close enough.
I'd heard enough of the subject. I knew what.
Right.
I love what you're talking about. Can you say it again? Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, Buster would do that. He'd walk out on stage and we'd be playing in Ohio. And he'd say, he's done his comedy, and he said, "Well, I'm glad to be here in so-and-so Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio tonight." And she'd say, "That's where we'd be."
Mm-hmm.
And I'd tell you you're wrong, but he'd walk out, we'd be in Cleveland, Ohio. He'd come out and say, "Boy, I'm glad we're in Louisville, Kentucky now. This is the first time we've been here in a while." And she said, "Now, Buster, we're not in Louisville, Kentucky. We're in Cleveland, Ohio. She said, didn't you know that? Why, yeah, I was just saying it to see if you did. He covered up.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I'll tell you something. The funniest thing that ever happened to us, but we'll tell them, I guess, next week, because we're almost closing time. We're already on overtime. Anyhow, we better wrap up and tell them about everything. First, I'm going to let you tell them about where you're at, where you're working right now.
Yeah, I'm currently still over at Reader Chevrolet. It's my all day today, as I like to say, my full day. Thursday, 9 o'clock to 8 is what I'm scheduled for. 8 o'clock's when we wrap it up, close the gates, and we are done for the day. And I'll also be there tomorrow, Friday, 9 to 6. Saturday, 9 to 8. It's typically one of our busiest days during the week. So come over if you guys are in the market for a new vehicle or a used vehicle, or if you're just wanting, or if you won't touch a new car with a 10-foot pole, just come on over to the used section. I'll be sure to find something for you, whether it's a car, SUV, truck, heavy-duty truck. Just look on our website at readerchevy.com and hit me up at 865-405-6216. That's my personal cell phone number.
He said he didn't burst the pole, so we're gonna go into Wild Wings. Won't everybody be there?
Monday night.
Monday.
I think we got a new girl gonna sing with us. Tuesday night or Monday night.
Cool.
Remember now, we're there the second Monday of every month the rest of the year. Good Lord willing, we'll be right there with you. And we have so many new people come every time. It's just like doing a new show over.
6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Yeah, that's right. And we got 2 shows. We take just a little bit of break. It don't cost you nothing to get in. It's free.
Yep.
All you got to pay for is what you eat.
And if you don't like David, you can just pay him to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go up to that bucket and put the money in, and we'll leave at 8:35.
And if you don't hear nothing you like, just tell us. We'll go home with you at the show for dinner. And won't you be sure and come over to that? And remember, the biggest drum store in the state of Tennessee is at Ciderville now. We got a lot of guitars. They just got in some Les Pauls, boy, they're beauties. They've been selling a lot of stuff. Anthony Lay, a lot of you people know him. He's been a highway patrolman, deputy sheriff of Scott County, and so he's been U.S. Marshal. He's been a lot of things. But he's over in the music business now. And you talk about he's got so many ways to treat you, unlike some of them. So come over and see Anthony and the boys, and he's got a real, Scott is one of the, if you want your guitar set up or worked on, he's a repairman too. He does a lot of stuff on, puts them together, and he's put together some of the prettiest basses and stuff I ever saw.
Yeah, they got sales and service over there at Ciderville, so come get your guitar, your drums, anything service.
I need to get over there. I want to see those Les Pauls. He bought that from an estate sale, didn't he?
Oh yeah. Them things are brand new. Somebody collected them. It gold tops, all them high dollar stuff. It's nice stuff. Yeah. But yeah, come over and see him, and then Doug is still there. His show's not every Saturday night, but he puts it out to be on Facebook. You can see when it's going to be there on.
There's going to be a double band night this Saturday.
This
Saturday at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock, I believe. There's going to be a 2-band night, so there's going to be 2 bands back-to-back that are planned. They'll be sharing the stage. Typically, it's packed. People are parked at the top of the hill, right next to David's house, right in front of his house there. And hopefully, if there's still room, I'd come by and get you a spot. So it's going to be packed.
Yeah. There you go. And then he has what is it? He has on Friday night.
Karaoke
Friday.
Karaoke.
Oh, yeah.
Friday night.
Yeah.
So come out and see Doug. Now, listen. If you need a PA system, it ain't too big and it ain't too little. I saw him do a huge place in Dalton, probably 30,000 people. It was a big thing. But if you need a PA system, he's got them. He'll come out and do it for you, and he's real reasonable. We use him on all of our shows. So give him a call, and he'll be happy to take care of you. And, of course, we're glad Dustin's with us today.
Glad to be here.
He's been helping me do a lot of things this week. He helped me do everything now.
Everything.
How's Howard's wife?
Huh?
How's Howard's wife?
Well, he called me one day this week. He brought her home.
Oh, good.
Said she was doing a lot better. And I kind of looked for him today, but, you know, he probably can't leave her by herself right now. But maybe if the good Lord willing, she'll be here. He'll be here next week, because if she keeps doing good.
Good.
Because boy, Howard loves to come over here on these shows and go on shows with me, and he's on his own. Well, everything, Wild Wings and all kinds of shows. So we got some shows coming up, and we're glad to have Ethan with us today, too.
Yeah. I'm glad to have you all here as well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks, Ron.
You're welcome, man. Anytime.
Of course.
And so we'll get to see you next week. May the good Lord bless you. And whatever you do, remember what Mr. Walker said. You be good to the Lord and you'll be good to you. And thank everybody. And good afternoon.
God bless you.
Thank you for listening to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Make sure you tune in at 10 a.m. each day, Monday through Friday, right here on AM 1380 WYSH and BBB TV 12. Or listen live online at WYSHradio.com. And remember, if you have a question, comment, or problem, call in tomorrow and ask your neighbor. Or email from our website. It's Ask Your Neighbor. Thanks for listening.